The Tale of Jay, the worst DM I ever had. I really enjoy a good horror story, so I think it's about time I added my own to the sub. First, a little background. I used to frequent a local game store because of my partaking of the cardboard crack that is trading card games. At the time of the story, I was already playing and running games in 5e for some friends, and the LGS had its own West Marches games on Monday night. A few of my LGS mates started looking around for home games. Enter Jay. Jay had never really played much D&D before, but really loved the idea of it, particularly being the dungeon master. He had gotten himself a DM guide and was really into the idea of running a game. He had his own setting all thought up and a few players of varying experience who were interested. One of them said it was really fun and that I should come along. Story, banter, and challenge. Sounded good. I came out of curiosity. And because it was a chance to be a player for a change. Players are as followed. Princess, a homebrew witch class. Character was a princess in setting lore. Lunk, a barbarian ranger. Think Link from TLOZ, but angry. Spark, an arcane trickster rogue. Loki vibes. Kay, a half-elf druid. Loves crit roll. Edgy, an assassin rogue. Had never played D&D before ever, but liked the Elder Scrolls. Strike 1, the first session. Jay tells us all that the adventure is set in his own world. There are two great kingdoms that are at war, and we are adventurers caught in the middle. There's only one side that uses magic, and the setting is very low magic and feudal. We may have to take a side eventually, but there apparently will be political intrigue as well as swords and sorcery. He also says to us that it's going to be challenging and difficult in both combat and roleplay. Sounds like my cup of tea. So I rolled up a wizard to level 2, a high elf illusionist. Had an idea of playing him as a bit of a self-serving arsehole like Edwin of Thay from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I was determined to do the whole evil character in a neutral to good party thing. Thought it'd be cool story-wise, and Jay seemed to be on board. Wrote up a whole backstory and such. The party found me locked in a cell in the dungeon, and the party and I get through the first few encounters until we get to the boss, an orc war chief. As I said, I'm usually a DM, and I know the CR of one of these boys is about a 4. But it's cool, because Jay knows we are level 2, and wouldn't be running the creature fully as written, right? Wrong. I cast magic missile on it, and it immediately charges towards me. First attack gets through the shield, but damage-wise is a low roll, gets me down to 1 HP. Second attack is a 19 on the die, which I'm informed is a crit. Because I'm at such low health, once damage is counted, it killed me immediately. No unconsciousness or death saves, just dead, because it dealt over double my max HP. So I just have to sit there for the rest of the session. Kay and Spark are experienced players and are looking at me like I've been cheated. So not only did he run a creature with minions that was way beyond the party's capabilities, but he also made it stronger by giving it 3 fighter levels. So it's that kind of game, huh? Jay approaches me after and says he's sorry that it worked out that way, but he hopes I'll roll up something else and come back next week. He's going to speed level the party to improve balance. He clearly has no idea what he's doing, but I give him the benefit of the doubt. I leave it a few sessions, but this time I roll Ragnak, a half-orc vengeance paladin. I make him huge, dumb, and completely lovable to the rest of the party. I get him 20 strength, a glaive, the pole arm master, and sentinel feats, and proceeds to destroy a boss that he puts in front of the party as trial by combat thing. He sets it up with pit fighting rules, where my opponent and I roll initiative every round. But thanks to PM Sentinel, I'm getting 3 attacks to his 2, and that's when he actually even gets to melee me. On top of this, Spark and Princess are aiding me by quietly spellcasting from the stands. Jay looks like he'd love nothing more than to kill Ragnar. But because of the way I made him and made the party love him, he knows the table would be in open revolt if he did. In the session that followed, we got nowhere near the two warring kingdoms. We were seemingly out in the frontier lands, and all that political intrigue we were told about, yeah, that's going on somewhere else, while we drag ourselves through mountains and fight Ettins, unable to keep track of our movements or make a map, because Jay hasn't really made one yet. I start to get a lurch in my stomach. The game continues off and on until Strike 2, the spooky one-shot. So, Halloween is coming up, and Jay wants to do a special one-off session. That'll not be connected to the main story. He wants to branch out and use some survival horror themes. I bring Ragnar along. When the session starts, we are told that we are locked in a wooden cage with none of our items. Everything's gone. We make investigation checks to find something to jimmy the lock with. Nothing. Princess casts a spell to try and damage the cage. Nada. I attempt to brawn my way through the wooden bars. Doesn't work. Jay says that after we try all these things, seemingly pointless, the door on the cage just swings open. We then make our way down the corridors. Still no items. We trigger some traps which we have no idea are there and that we can't disarm because the rogues have no thieves' tools. We are then informed that there is a death knight chasing us, and we do not have time to be searching every room. So we move on, because at our current level, the DK can TPK us within 2 rounds. Kay, Spark, and I are experienced players. Know this. The dungeon is a series of branching corridors, with sections that close behind us so we can't backtrack. Somehow, this does not impede the DK though, who is always 1 or 2 rooms behind, and Jay takes great pains to remind us of this. Edgy falls down a pitfall trap, and is just out of the game for a while, as he falls to a lower section of the dungeon. We can't follow down the pit because we have no rope, and as soon as we start thinking about doing something else, we are told that the door to the section starts rattling, so we have to move on. People are visibly and audibly frustrated, and the session kind of peters out. Nobody is enjoying themselves. Jay is frustrated because we didn't reach the end of the one-shot he made, and the players are hating it because we literally cannot do anything. There were perhaps half a dozen rolls between all of us the entire game. I say afterward to Spark and Lunk that I'm done, but they say that to think about it and come back because they like my character. I have a chat with Jay about what railroading means, and he seems to take it in. Nonetheless, I have a couple weeks off and contemplate whether I'm gonna bother continuing. Fast forward a few weeks, and a couple of the players are messaging me saying that it's gotten good, and that we are about to enter a cavern with a powerful magical item inside. As stated, the campaign has been really low magic up until this point. When I come back, though, I am met with Strike 3, the wall. So I am persuaded to come back for a session to give this one more chance. And true enough, Jay has a large enemy settlement mocked up. He's clearly been doing some reading because he's got some environmental effects and 3-dimensional battlefields going on. We pass through the enemy camps and into the cavern, navigating our way through slowly and carefully to dodge traps and find loot. Then we are told that we find an exit to the outside, bordering the sea, and a huge wall-like sea cliff rises up before us. There is an opening near the top, and it becomes obvious that we are meant to climb up. Ragnar's time to shine, I think to myself. Ragnar will take rope and climb, then others climb behind once Ragnar gets to the top. I say in character, I was doing the whole third-person thing, and I say to Jay that I want to use my superior strength to climb up, run the rope to the top, so the rest of the party can climb up easier. He frowns, suddenly annoyed. Sure, make an athletics check. So Ragnar does, and he passes. So I start saying that when I get to the top, I'm going to wrap it around my waist and grip the rock so the party can, "You've only climbed up 15 feet. Roll athletics again." He made me roll athletics every 15 feet while the rest of the table watched. If I failed any checks, I failed only 2, He would have me make a dexterity saving throw, where if I failed, I would take damage from falling rocks or slide down the cliff face. Ragnar's climb went on for 20 minutes in real life, and the party and I were bored AF. When I finally got Ragnar to the top, everyone else managed to climb up fine, because the experienced players and I successfully argued that because Ragnar was at the top holding the rope, he was technically assisting the other climbers, giving them advantage. Jay wanted them all struggling up the cliff like I did. After we got to the top, the session ended. Everyone was pissed, including Jay, who had wanted the cliff climb to be this dangerous, death-defying obstacle for the whole group, and my actions had ruined that, so he wanted at least one character to feel the difficulty he had intended. I told him later in private that I wasn't prepared to be in a game where the DM punishes players for solving problems. I'm not here as a player to thwart the DM, but the DM should not be there to kill players. Never came back, but I did hear later that the game fell apart because players started leaving after I did. The last straw was apparently when he openly used homophobic slurs towards Princess's player, who is male and gay, and Jay had a meltdown because nobody cared about his campaign world, which we had never seen or experienced any of the world building for at all. In short, remember that no D&D is better than bad D&D, and that guy DMs are so much worse than that guy players. If you're in a game with a DM like Jay, remember that you owe it to your own enjoyment of this hobby to find a better table. This was mainly a tale of a DM that wanted nothing more than to have his players struggle throughout the whole thing, which isn't bad. Some people like those types of games. This OP said that they like these types of games, but there is a certain point where it's not really a challenge, it's more of a TPK every single session. Whether or not this was due to him being new, which the OP originally thought, that's why they did give the DM 3 strikes before finally stopping altogether. It does seem like it was more than that, and there is a lot that he needed to work on with his DMing skills, which I can't say I've ever DM'd, but from reading these stories and hearing about other stories and other DMs on YouTube, this could have gone a lot better, because as they commented, there was no world building, nothing really told them anything about the world. There was obviously bad times, like when they were going up the wall and he would get mad at them and had them roll every 15 feet. I've never heard of anything like that, but he wanted them all to struggle like that. But anyways, that is all for today, and as you can see, there is a whole new me today. This is part of the big revamp, including the intro and outro, and I hope you all like it because I am so excited with the way that it turned out, and I hope you tell me what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!